Congressman, my name is Joe Tully, and you alluded to the fact that the Republicans offered up $61 billion in reductions. That was perceived by most conservative Republicans as the beginning of potential waffle on promises that were made during the election. Whereas we looked at the situation where we would have been proud if it had come up $161 billion against the budget. What are our concerns with the Republican Party going forward? You obviously have alluded to dissension in the ranks. Do you see that they would be backing down in this fight? I like your approach of getting in there and picking the fight now. Do you see that carrying forward and strengthening of the party before the next elections?
Well, I really do. And let me say again that I really do think that the debate among Republicans right now is not about whether we should fight, it's just when and how. It's an argument over tactics. But I remain convinced that Republicans in the House are going to fight to keep our word to the American people. The $100 billion in savings would require $61 billion in cuts this year. I think it's absolutely essential that you recognize you never get a second chance at a first impression. That Republicans need to keep our word to the American people. We said we'd find $100 billion in savings off what the president wanted to spend, and we need to do it. The second thing we need to do, though, and it's going to be coming up in just a couple of weeks as well, we need to produce a budget that in the short term and in the long term changes the fiscal direction of our national government and deals with all federal spending, including entitlement reform. Be ready on that. Republicans are going to do that. And Paul Ryan is a dear friend. I've served with him for many years. Paul leads our budget committee. I think that around the second week of April, you're going to see a budget come out that is probably going to be attacked by all the right people. And it's one of my messages to folks as I'm traveling around Indiana and a little bit around the country, and that is, if Republicans keep our word to the American people, if we do what needs to be done to begin to make a down payment on fiscal responsibility and reform, it will give even some people in this room pause. And I'm just challenging people everywhere I go to keep the benefit of the doubt at your side like in a holster. And when you hear what Republicans are proposing to do, just, if it has anything to do with spending, just assume it's the right thing to do until you've proven otherwise. Because there's some tough sledding ahead. And I am convinced, and I want to encourage our friends here at PRI, our friends of the Tea Party movement, I'm convinced that Republicans are going to make this fight. We have to make this fight. And I'm also convinced that this small first battle is important in this sense. And that is, I think it will set the tone for all these other bigger battles. I mean, a lot of people say, well, you're arguing over $61 billion in savings and a couple of policy issues that are tough and contentious, and why are you digging in on that when you've got the budget coming up, you've got the debt ceiling coming up? Well, precisely because courage begets courage. That when you win in the off season, it makes that season opener that much better, right? I mean, to me, this is an important moment for House Republicans to dig in, to say to Harry Reid, this far and no farther, because there are much bigger battles that need to be waged, and we need to get in the habit of fighting for fiscal responsibility and reform with everything we've got. Time for one or two more?